All right, everybody, welcome to Brighter. So Tesla surprised us all yesterday, dropping a brand new Model Y rear-wheel drive for the US market. What's shocking is the sticker price. It is at $44,000. That's $3,750 less than what the recently discontinued base Model Y all-wheel drive. So how did they do this? Now, if you add in the $7,500 federal tax credit, you're going to now be able to buy a Model Y for $36,490. So today we're going to look at this, how this price compares to 12 other competitors' vehicles. And I'll let it out of the bag now. The big news, this new trim is on average cheaper by 25 to 30% than these other competitors. That's $11,000 to $13,000 cheaper. So let's take a quick closer look. So we've got Hans Nelson joining us. He's a regular with us and he has his own YouTube channel and somebody you should be following on both YouTube and Twitter at Hans C. Nelson. Welcome, Hans. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Excited.
Okay, so this is big news. This is interesting. Now, you've got some interesting comments about this, and I can't wait to get there. So let's just set it up. Sawyer announced that he's always one of the first to do the breaking news, so we use him a lot. So he's introduced Model Y rear-wheel drive in the US for $43,990. This is $3,750 less than what they used to, which they discontinued the base model that they had was the all-wheel drive. And then again, with $7,500 EV credit, that's now $36,490. And this all-wheel drive is 260 miles and 6.6 seconds. It's not as good as the base model that Tesla used to have, which then they canceled. And so you can see it's cheaper, but it's less miles and less, not as quick. Now, the base model was the 4680. So you're going to have some comments about that, right? Why they canceled that and they replaced it with the rear-wheel drive. Here's the new configurator here. You can see that it's now 43, which is massively, it's just so low. It's a great offer, I think. So as we compare it to competitors, why don't you give me some comments?
So the first comment that I have is that $3,750 decrease is somewhat suspicious to me because that is exactly half of the IRA tax incentive break. And and this is what we don't know, and we'll get to this in a little bit with Jordan's comments from the limiting factor, if the if the battery pack that they're replacing, that 4680 battery pack, is an LFP pack that is not made in the United States, they actually may reduce the eligibility. And so that $7,500 number that Sawyer threw out may not end up being something that vehicle is eligible for. It may only be eligible for $3,750 tax credit. And so it actually may end up being the exact same out the door price to someone who's eligible for an IRA tax break as the previous base model. So that's something that remains to be seen. That said, regardless, this vehicle still is significantly cheaper than any of its competitors. It's still a great vehicle. And if it is an LFP pack that they have a lot of scaling on, then that means they should be able to sell that vehicle in larger volumes than they have been able to sell the 4680 base model Model Y.
Wow, Hans, that's the first time I heard that comment and that analysis. That's why you're the person to bring on board. That's brilliant. Didn't even think about that. I think you're going to be probably turned out to be true about the 3750, which is half. Okay, so I want to share this tweet from AJ. He's somebody I've been showing quite a bit now because he comes up with some fantastic charts, and he explained this, which is the new Model Y trim is now at unbeatable $43,990. This is before the incentives. This undercuts the competitors, and he's going to show his table that by $11,000 to $13,000. And my gosh, they're raising the stakes. Historic shift in the automotive landscape, and these competitor executives are probably going to be freaking out because they Tesla means business here. So this is the beautiful chart that he produced, and you can see on the left here that Tesla Model Y, this new rear-wheel drive trim, is at the bottom here, $43,990, and you compare it to all the other competitors, at least 12 others here, and you can see their price, what they charge, and of course they're all already higher. And yet, it's look how well the Model Y compares in all of its comparisons here. What's what you're thinking about this chart? Oh, just before I
Yeah.
get going here, look at it. It says the average price is around the real wheel drive Model Y is cheaper by 25 to 30%. That's $11 to $13,000. That's significantly cheaper than everyone else.
Yeah, and that is taking into account the just the starting price with no tax incentives. So, that number holds true kind of regardless. I think it's awesome to see Tesla at that position. I also am just impressed with the Kia Niro to be able to be in that ballpark. Obviously, they have a lot less specs. It's a smaller vehicle. It's not nearly as capable. But it's cool to see another EV manufacturer be able to at least start getting close at this point.
Wow, this is a beautiful chart. Really appreciate that he put this together because I always, you see these prices you don't know, but if you compare it to everyone else, you can see that this is going to really just shake everything up here. So this is the new Model Y. Just just a nice way to put things in perspective here. Still looks fairly similar. Um, so this is what we were just talking about here. So limiting factor, Jordan Gazigi, who's somebody that everybody should follow. He's basically the battery expert. And so he came up with a sort of a theory of what's happening. So 2 weeks ago, the 4680 production from Cato Road was shutting down for 3 months beginning in November. And so this John from Cleaner Watt was speculating that it was because these Cato Road lines were being upgraded from Gen 1 to Gen 2 cell production. And if that's the case, it may explain why they canceled the base model all-wheel drive Model Y and now why they're being replaced by the real-wheel drive Model Y. So it's said that they may be using the LFP battery cells for this new version of the Model Y instead of the 4680. And 4680 is going to be needed for the Cybertruck. Which you mentioned, you already brought it up a little bit earlier, but what's your thoughts?
Yeah, so the fact that the range and the acceleration are so much slower is the reason. They don't have to put an LFP battery pack in that base Model Y. They could go with 2170s. They could do, a variety of different things. But those acceleration numbers and the lower range numbers, while maintaining a relatively similar weight, are what makes you think that it probably is LFP, which is great from a cost of goods standpoint. That, even if this vehicle ends up being the same out the door cost to a consumer as the previous 4680 Model Y, the actual cost of goods sold for that vehicle to Tesla should actually be significantly less. And like we said earlier, also easier to scale up in volume. And so it's a better platform from a Tesla profitability standpoint for them to put at that base level than the 4680. And then also, I love Jordan's points about the fact that, if we're really focusing on trying to maximize the scaling potential of the Cybertruck as early as possible, we want as many of those 4680 cells that are compatible with the Cybertruck to be allocated to that product and not be used in other platforms. And so I would love to see the Cato Road facility actually get upgraded to be able to produce the Gen 2 cells, which are the Cyber cells, which are the ones that are compatible with the Cybertruck, and just increase the number of Cybertrucks that we can pump out of Giga Texas as quickly as possible.
So all of this is making so much sense. I'm glad that they did it. Lower price point, base model Model Y coming out, more cells for Cybertruck. All this makes sense. The other thing that came out, new news as well, just this weekend, is in addition to that rear-wheel drive Model Y, they also updated the Model Y at Giga Shanghai. Just small tweaks, it looks like. Same price, but they have now ambient lighting. They have this new dashboard material, no more the wood, and it's got this new Gemini wheels. And no change so far. The Fremont and Giga Texas Model Ys have not changed, but this is a hint that the Model Y, now that we had the Model 3 refresh happen, some people are thinking that they're going to be, a lot of that changes that they did for the Model 3 Highland is going to be moved over to the Model Y. This may not be the Juniper refresh, the full refresh that Model Y is expected, but maybe more and more of this is coming. So this is what this new Model Y in China looks like. Beautiful, beautiful car. That new, instead of the wood, the new dashboard there. This is the Gemini wheels. This is the announcement in China. This is although this is not this is not Tesla Motors. This is the club, not officially from China, but they are saying that this is the actual announcement in China. New dashboard with lighting, black 19-inch wheels, 0 to 105.9 for the standard range. So, what's your thoughts, Hans? Is this going to be, slow burn?
Yeah, I would kind of take the counter position to the optimistic hopes of a lot of people on this. I think that what the Model 3 Highland was trying to get as much of the improvements that they could into the Model 3 from the current Model Y. I don't think that the Model 3 Highland has many significant advantages over the current Model Y being produced there. In fact, it has disadvantages from what we can tell, it's an entirely stamped body in white. And so it doesn't even have that rear casting that I believe that we have in the Model Y coming out of Giga Shanghai. So I think the Model Y is already just a superior product than the Model 3 Highland coming out of Shanghai specifically. And so I think the thoughts that people have of, getting to the next level of Model Y faster, I just don't believe that from a manufacturing standpoint that that's a sound set of logic. The other thing to take into account is that the Chinese consumer is very, very price and value conscious. And so the fact that they have increased the value per yen proposition of the Model 3 Highland in relationship to the Model Y means that there's something that they need to do in order to help put a little bit of extra shine on the Model 3, or sorry, the Model Y, to help remind customers that this is still a great product, this is still a great value, and just to help differentiate it a little bit more, give it a little bit more updates, a little bit more pizzazz. And that's what this looks like to me, is really just a marketing effort to do simple, easy things that they can do to help re-establish the place of the Model Y in the mind of the Chinese consumer. And then, I think the likelihood that we see Model Y, like the Juniper project, anytime soon, it is probably low. Just like, we didn't even see the Highland 3 refresh do a lot of the things that people were hoping that it was going to do from a manufacturing standpoint for that vehicle. So I think like converting over a huge manufacturing process in a factory that produces as many cars as Shanghai produces, like that's just going to be something that takes longer than the most optimistic among us would hope.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that this means Juniper is going to come sooner, but I do think that you're going to start seeing more and more of standardization. Whatever they did for Model 3, little things will continue to be upgraded, just like they do with the cars all the time. Every month, every 6 months, they always add new things. I think you meant to say yuan, just to make sure people know that we both know it's not yen, but that's good. Thank you so much, Hans. I appreciate you. This was great. Follow him on his YouTube channel, Hans C. Nelson. He does interviews, and he also on X at Hans C. Nelson. Thank you very much, Hans. Appreciate you. If you can, please consider supporting this channel. It's a lot of work arranging all of these amazing interviews. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. It has over 15 modules to keep you informed. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com. Thank you very much, and let's get brighter.